Welcome to the Rebel Rise podcast, a place where badass women like you come to connect, learn, and grow. Here, we celebrate the relentless spirit of women who dare to dream and design their own destinies. This is your time for no bullshit, so no subject is off limits. This is a time for you to collect inspiration and create the vision for your life. Get ready to break free from societal expectations, take your power back, and step into your dream life. Your empowerment journey begins right here. Let's go. In this episode, we have a very special guest and a topic that is a little bit unique to what we've talked about so far on Rebel Rise. But today's guest is not only an amazing coach, but she is known as the health, wellness, and empowerment coach. And we're going to talk a lot about health and wellness in this episode. So I am thrilled to dive right into it. And I want everybody to give a warm welcome to Dr. Sofia Ghani. Welcome, Sofia.
Hi, Vanessa, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, well, I am so excited to dive right into this, but I would love to have you start by telling everybody a little bit about your background in health and wellness and how you got into this coaching space before we inevitably get into what we're going to talk about with our soapboxes and everything that encompasses the importance of this. But how did you get started?
Yeah, so I started off a long, long time ago in a valley far, far away, back in Texas. I started as a pharmacist and I worked as a pharmacist in a clinical setting at a hospital. And I was part of a team. And in that team, I was responsible for patients' drug therapy. And so I constantly saw very sick patients coming into the hospital and having to see them on multiple medications and just the health that their health was just so, critical at the point when they come into the hospital and stuff. So seeing that for a couple of years, I was just like, there has to be another way. And I was helping them in a way with their drug therapy, but I wanted to help people before they got to that level of chronic illness and sickness and having to be on like 18, literally 18 medications at the same time. So I then started thinking of, okay, what can I do? And how can I go into preventative healthcare? And so I would say this was back in 2010. That's like 14 years ago now. I,
Crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. And so I decided to just, get a bunch of my girlfriends and just do a health challenge together. Um, at that point, I had my third baby, my daughter. And I was like, okay, you know what? I need to get my energy back. I want to get my health back in order. I wasn't feeling the way I did. So I was like, you know what? Let's do this together. And so I told a couple of my friends, about 4 or 5 of them, they told their friends. And then before we knew it, in a week, we had 35 women who just wanted to do this challenge together. It was a 3-month weight loss health challenge. And that was really when I was like, oh my goodness, all of a sudden I had to start leading these women because they're like, okay, what are we doing, Sophia? I'm like, okay. So that was kind of the spark of me coming into this arena of preventative care. And in that 3 months, I saw these women change their lives. And I really didn't know what I was doing and how I was guiding them. But at the end of the 3 months, everybody was happier, healthier. And at that point, I knew this is what I wanted to do. I really wanted to help women and with their health, make them feel better about themselves, empower them to be better. So that was kind of where I started. And then over the years, I didn't even know I was coaching. And so my coaching practice started and I slowly started adding different elements to my coaching and made it more holistic. And so that was where it kind of all started and stemmed from.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And, you hear a mix of both, I think, when it comes to the coaching profession is, some people like they always knew they wanted to be a coach. And so that's what they set out to do. And then there's people like you and I, that's actually something that you and I have in common with our stories is like we kind of just, it's just kind of was something we kind of fell into. We're like, oh, this feels right. This feels like my calling, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm just going to go out and serve people since I'm getting the question. For me, I was just getting a lot of questions about, hey, are you a coach? Because the content you're sharing feels like you're a coach and I would be interested in your services. So I love that it's kind of the same journey for you and that you really leaned into that. So when you say that you changed your program as you started to officially become a coach and make it more holistic, what are some things that you had in your program that you feel are extremely beneficial?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I initially started, it was just, about weight loss and just, losing the weight and looking better. And and then it changed into, okay, no, we really want to get our energy level better. We want our mental health to be better. We want to change our behaviors and our patterns and the way we're thinking and how we are um loving ourselves. So it really evolved in knowing yourself and loving yourself, accepting where you are, and then trying to make yourself better. So that's how it all sort
Mm,
of evolved. Yeah, all about the self.
yeah. So good. Yeah. And, with my journey also started with weight loss. And I thought that that was all that I needed to be happy. Once I lose the weight, I'll be complete. And no shame to anybody listening to this who feels that way right now. It's totally normal to feel that way. And I'm sure, Sophia, you can confirm that that's so normal. And what I found was at the end of that, when I hit my goal weight, I didn't feel any different. My self talk wasn't any better. The way that I treated myself wasn't any better, and I realized that I had to do that internal work because those things go really hand in hand. And so there is such uh, an importance around having balance there because you can't fully have one without the other, I suppose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And it doesn't, you kind of like said it right there. It's like, you think that once you lose the weight, you're going to feel great and everything's going to be good and you're going to be able to do things. But when you get to that point, and if you don't have that internal shift and realization of where you are and how you're talking to yourself and that the self-worth, self-value, then it's there's a void. There's still a void that's inside
Mhm.
that you have to fill. And that's something that I had to learn myself because that all happened to me too. I lost the weight and this and that, but the self-talk didn't change because
Mhm.
the awareness wasn't there. And so I had to create that awareness. And so that was something that I had to learn first in order to then help my clients.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, we don't necessarily have to go down this route unless this is something that you experienced. But I find through my journey that the first thing I was able to really improve upon was my relationship with myself, the way I feel about myself, my self talk. The thing that I feel like, quite transparently, I still struggle with is the image in which I see my body. So, like body dysmorphia, right? And so, feeling like my body's never changed to the point where as you have to try on old clothes to like remind yourself, or I do still on occasion. And so do you run into that often where you have clients that you've worked with who have that body dysmorphia or they're scared of the scale? Like I still have some anxiety around getting on the scale even, and I have to talk myself through it because I do lift weights. So it's normal for that number to go up. It should be going up when you're lifting weights. And so I have some solace in that. But that's a big piece that I still struggle with. And I am 4.5 years out from my actual weight loss of hitting my goal weight. So I'm going to circle back around to the question since I kept talking after that. But what do you have women that you've run into with that? And if so, how would you recommend to women who are struggling with something like that to get over that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is something that many women run into. And what I like to do with my clients is I'll make them write a letter to themselves when we start our program together, and the qualities and the abilities that they possess. And
Mm,
we also do measurements so that we can continually look at the outcomes. And yes, some women are this if they go on the scale, then they get, I mean, very, I would say, if they don't see a change in the scale, or if it's going the opposite direction, because like you said, muscle weighs more than fat, then they will get very worried and then they just want to give up. So it depends on, and everyone is different. So for certain women, I just don't worry about that. As long as you are doing what you need to do and continually work on that self-talk, then that is something that you can do. And then, yes, like you said, you look at pictures or you look at clothes or you wear your clothes. Those are some things that are tangible things that you can do to keep reminding yourself that, yes, this is where I am, this is where I was, this is where I am now. And it is hard because when we change, it's uncomfortable. And when
Mm.
our body is physically changing and we are doing that, sometimes our minds can't catch up to that physical change as fast. So those are some good things you can do to keep reminding yourself. But at the same time, we also have to build that self acceptance and also visualize ourselves to this other version that we're working towards. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So important, so powerful. Definitely something I am still working on for sure. You're never going to see me sit here. I won't show up on social media or even on this podcast and pretend like I have everything all figured out, So while that
Oh,
may have felt to some of our listeners like a vulnerable share, it's okay. Like I'm open about sharing that because, I'm glad that we have that answer now, right? Because there's inevitably somebody else who's listening who's like, "Oh my God, that's me too." Right? So thank you
hmm,
for sharing that and for
yeah,
validating that struggle and how long it really can take our minds to catch up to our bodies.
right, right. No, 100%. And it's the same for me too. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all on this constant journey. And so there are some times we're going to go down into certain places. And then the idea is to observe ourselves and then to then say, no, 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 we're here now. So we don't need to
Yeah.
backtrack. Let's keep moving forward. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. You don't need to revisit the old patterns just because they're comfortable, because that is really what is happening is you're just going back to what's comfortable.
exactly. Yep, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So I know recently, Sophia, you online, you were tracking your blood glucose and things like that. So this is something I definitely want you to talk about a little bit because when you see health and wellness coaches, they don't often add that component into their programs or add that education piece that you have to educate people on why these things are important and how to monitor things like that. So, can you share a little bit about that process or what that experiment was like for you?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So what I did was, and what I do teach to or impart to my clients is the why behind things, because I think when you know the why, then it becomes more powerful and you are more vested in doing it. And so when I work with my clients, because of my background of pharmacy, I'm able to look at their labs, I'm able to look at medications or what they're on and help them understand what these are and any sort of history they have, medical history or family history. I can tell them, okay, well, looking at your labs, looking at your medical history, this might be something that you want to be careful. You're prone to or more genetically predisposed to getting a certain chronic illness. And so what I did, because I'm literally my from my mom and my dad's sides, I have heart disease, I have high cholesterol, I have high blood pressure, I have diabetes, you name it, I have all the chronic illnesses. So I wanted to really experiment and see what happens when I eat certain foods, because that is literally, I mean, you are what you eat, right? That's what they say. And so when we eat foods that increase our blood sugar levels, that increases our insulin, because insulin is used to take that glucose in our blood and put it into our different cells. And so that is one of the triggers to chronic illness and inflammation. So I wanted to see what foods I eat and how much of it and at what times and quantity. So taking all that into consideration, I use that small little device that you put on your arm. It's called a continuous glucose monitor, and it tracks your blood glucose for 24/7 for about 10 to 14 days, depending on which one you buy and get. And so yeah, so I tracked and saw certain foods, and I'll just give you a quick little, um, you know, um, excerpt about it, which is the foods that I love, I can't eat a lot of.
Of
So I don't,
course.
yeah, of course, right? But that doesn't mean that healthy food tastes bad. It's just you have to know how to cook it. But juices and sugary drinks off limits. It really shot blood glucose levels super high. So that's something that, the frappuccinos and the sugary drinks are totally out. And then, as you would think, carbs, your simple carbs, such as chips, pastas, they increase your blood sugar levels. And whenever I had my protein, such as chicken breast with some veggies, and I also had some bread, but when I had it in that combination, sugar levels didn't go up that much. So
Mm.
all in all, the whole gist of the experiment is that when you eat your foods, eat a balanced meal, definitely have protein in there, have fiber in there, and then yeah, and just eat small quantities.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. So, for a balanced meal, because I feel like that has been really convoluted, especially for us in the millennial generation, what that actually means. So, can you just expand on what that means very quickly?
Sure. So a balanced meal would be okay. So there are three macros, which you probably have heard about, is your carbs, your fats, and your protein. Um, Protein is our most important macro that we need to have because we need to have muscle. For muscle is helps us with our metabolism, our movement. Without that, we can't move. And as we age, after the age of 35, our muscle mass starts going down if we don't maintain and eat the proper number of grams of protein as well as in doing strength training. So protein, you have to have your fiber because fiber is food for your gut, and gut health is super important for your body to work properly, for your hormones to work properly, for things to nutrients to be broken down and to be used in your body. So fiber is your vegetables, and you can have fats. If you're trying to lose weight, you want to be a little bit careful. However, when it comes to carbs, there's no such thing as essential carbs. You have essential fats, you have essential protein, amino acids, but nothing essential carbs. So you want to be sure that your carbs are low. You still can have carbs, but staying away from those sugary carbs that break down super fast. And that's the processed food, which is
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. That's a really, really quick, easy lesson in nutrition for everybody listening. So if you need to go back and listen to that, definitely some key tips for eating well and eating healthy. And it can be challenging, right? And that kind of brings me into my next question is, we have, processed food everywhere, processed protein, processed carbs, all of the things, right? And it's because we live in this incredibly fast hustle culture, like go 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 lifestyle. And it's so important to have this wellness balance that we're talking about, right? Not only with what you eat, but how you connect yourself to nature, connect yourself back to yourself, or fitness as well, right? And I think so many people struggle to find a balance there. It's so easy to just get stuck in the grind. You get yourself stuck in this perpetual cycle of not enough sleep, running on coffee or a monster, and working 18-hour days, coming home, eating fast food, less sleep, coffee, monster again, right? Being in this crazy cycle that it's so hard to break out of once you're in it. Right. And I've been in both. I've been in the super health and wellness, and I've been in the super, like, I'm definitely in a rut mode. So, what advice
Mhm.
would you have for somebody who is kind of stuck in that rut now? Like, where would they get started?
I usually would tell somebody to pick the lowest hanging fruit. It's if
Mm.
you start, and say, from tomorrow, I am going to be amazing and do everything, that's not going to work. It's not going to work, especially if you have this crazy busy lifestyle. I would say pick three things that you can do that are going to help you shift and make you feel that change. And number one, like you mentioned, sleep. Is that something that you can change? Are you sleeping at around the same time every day? If you're sleeping, say, only 5, 6 hours, can you increase that 30 minutes? So sleep 30 minutes earlier and just start making those small shifts. And that would be for sleep. For as far as like food goes, hydration. I would start with, are you drinking enough water, pure water? And so not any drinks, not tea, not coffee. Tea is maybe okay, but pure water. How much of that are you drinking? And then if you're not at, a certain, you can drink from anywhere from 80 to a gallon a day. It just depends on the person and how dehydrated they are. And so that is dependent. So I can't really say you have to drink this much of water a day. But if you know that you're not drinking enough, get that hydration up. Our bodies are 70% water. So we need that to make our cells work properly. If you can imagine a grape, right? And if you can imagine a raisin. So if you are dehydrated, your cells look like that raisin versus it should look like a grape. And when it's a grape, all the things inside that cell are working properly for you to optimize and use everything correctly and for your body to function optimally. So really upping the water. And then what is one thing you can take out from your current diet that you know is not serving your body? And what can you replace it with? That's it. Just start there. That's what I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah. And that's, so I started my journey with water and I still have a very good water
Yay!
habit. I always have
Amazing.
so much water next to me. Um, and the food swaps one, I used to actually post on my Instagram a lot about like, hey, here's what I was craving. So here's what I swapped it out with. Like, for example, the perfect bars. Have you had the perfect bars before?
I have. Yes.
Like the refrigerated peanut butter bar. Yeah, okay.
Mm.
So I used to use those for desserts. And I should probably go back to that because I've had far too much of the refined sugar recently. However, I think there's a balance with everything, right? But that was something that I used as a dessert substitute. So I would cut one in half at first. And then, once I went back to not needing to have that calorie restriction and I wanted to just maintain, I went back up because that's also, it's a good source of protein, right? It's a good source of some healthy fats. And if you get
Mm.
the one with the chocolate chips, which is definitely the best, it's like an extra treat, but you're still not going
Yeah.
overboard. Or finding substitutes for pasta. I love pasta, but the one thing that I actually really loved to do that I had a lot of resistance with in the beginning was making zoodles with zucchini. And it's actually really filling. So I don't know if anybody listening is like, oh my God, that could never be filling enough. It is. Just add protein. Because if you're hungry, you're hungry and it's not a dehydration thing, right? It's a protein thing. It's not necessarily a carb thing because carbs is where you get your energy from. That's not why you're hungry. So when I made the zoodles, I could also have a lot of it because
Mm.
it's vegetables, right? It's a lot of, again, water. And so finding these little hacks, I actually had so much fun with that. I had fun exploring and seeing what I could make. That was a swap that I
Yeah.
actually enjoyed. Some things were a complete miss and I absolutely hated them, but some
Mm.
things were actually great and they're things that I still eat today and I actually like crave them.
Yeah. No, I love that. And like you said, just right there, but zoodles are amazing, by the way. And even if you can
So
make
good.
like veggie lasagna, you don't have to use pasta in it. So low
Mm.
carb lasagna, oh my gosh, just layer it with those zucchini, thin slices of zucchini and eggplant. It turns out great. But swaps are so very important. So finding those swaps, what can I do instead of eating like chocolate cake? Can I have a protein bar instead? You know? And yeah, it's not going to taste exactly the same, but we're also trying to work on our, mentally trying to be like, I want to be healthier. What is good for my body? Is this food that I'm going to be putting in my body serving me? So
Yes.
even asking that question before you eat the food.
Yeah.
Right?
And there are so many recipes. I have so much fun with this. I don't know if you do this or not, but on social media, this is the one good thing about social media is that there's all kinds of protein heavy recipes that are geared towards like high protein ice cream, high protein cookie dough that's, doesn't have eggs in it and it, protein cake. And so there's so many options where you can make a good swap and it's a fairly good dupe. Like I've tried some of these things and I think last summer I was making ice cream out of bananas. It was like bananas and some protein powder, and I could put chocolate chips in it. It was so good. It was freaking delicious. And it was still the same satisfaction of, having ice cream, but I'm not going to say I didn't feel guilty, right? Because that's not, I don't feel guilty when I eat ice cream either, because I've worked through those things, but I felt good. Like my body didn't have that like, oh, like why did I eat that? Because sometimes I just like don't feel good after I eat something crappy, which I still
Mhm.
definitely do, but it's different when you can find a swap and you're like, oh, that was just as satisfying as I would hope it would be. It would I don't feel guilty about it at all. And my body still feels good. Like I'm not having that blood sugar spike and then feeling like I need to slip into a food coma.
Exactly. So true. So true. Because I mean, and you also start liking the flavors of
Yeah.
real and good quality food because the swaps are good quality. And so your palate changes. And when your palate changes, you start liking these flavors and the quality of the foods you eat. And then when you go back and try the processed food, it might not even taste the way it used to taste to you.
Yeah, that was the experience that I had for sure. I was like, anytime I would feel like I was craving processed food, like fast food, it was,
Mhm.
I think, really just like an old habit, not so much as a craving. And I would go and get it and I would eat it and I would be like, this was terrible. Like, this didn't taste good. It doesn't have the flavor that I remember it having, or I'd have to add extra things to it, or I would notice how
Mhm.
greasy it was, or things. And I love French fries. I still love French fries. But what I find is I now order them less because they're just not as satisfying as they used to be, because you can taste
Mhm.
all the oils in them, or sometimes they're over salted, or
Yeah.
whatever. So, yeah, the swaps, it's so powerful. And again, it's like the energy that you feel when you're eating healthier. This is another reason I eat primarily plant-based. I do eat meat. I'm not a vegan, I'm not a vegetarian, but I realized because there are different types of protein, and I don't know how much you advocate for this, Sophia, but I I did an experiment when I went to life and health coaching school where we had to do a 4-day protein experiment with different protein types. And I found with my body, I feel better in my body. I have more energy when I eat plant protein. So I choose to eat that way mostly because of how it makes me feel. But again, there's a balance with that too, because even though plant proteins taste great to me. I actually really enjoy them. There's still a lot of processing that goes on there. So I try to balance it with still like real whole proteins like chicken breast and the occasional steak or something like that. But I think, being able to experiment with different protein types and knowing what works best in your body, whether it's, just because of that, or it's, for animal welfare reasons that you choose to be vegetarian or vegan, being able to find those swaps and know, what those are as well, because it also can be a little bit more difficult. I struggle to get enough protein when I eat
Mhm.
exclusively vegan meats as well, because you have the higher fat content but lower protein. So it's always kind of a rat race, and it can be fun. I feel like this is something you would have fun with, is like kind of experimenting how to hit your macros with that. I'm not as good at tracking, but
Yeah, no, I love it because it's so true. Everyone's body is different. Everybody's gut microbiome is different. The way you're going to process protein, different kinds, is going to be different. How you're going to feel is going to be different. So I love the fact that, first couple weeks, just experiment. See what foods combinations you like, what is working for you, and really get to explore different vegetables. What are some vegetables that you've never even tried? Go to the grocery store, pick them up and make them, right?
mm,
So it's really about just having fun and enjoying the process of this and not making it like, oh my God, I have to get healthy and I have to do this and I have to do that. Enjoy it. You're getting to do
mm,
this for yourself. So yeah,
yes.
definitely experimenting. Love it.
Yes. Powerful reframe right there, too, by the way. Not I have to eat healthy. I get to eat healthy. I get to experiment. And here's a hot tip: a zucchini squash is also so good. You can make it as a pasta. I like to I chop up tomatoes and add feta cheese and basil, drizzle it with olive
Mm.
oil. It takes a while to cook, but I can eat an entire half of that, or I could eat a whole squash. I can never eat that much because it literally is so filling. And then I add, whatever protein I want to it, chicken or ground beef or, whatever vegan meat I'm using. And it's so filling and so good. And I just really feel like zucchini squash is underrated. You can do so much with it.
Yes, and I think I've seen your post on that once before too, and it looks delicious.
So good. It's so good. I'm obsessed. I'm
It
so
is.
obsessed with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. And when you add a little bit of protein and you add these different vegetables, you want to think the color of the rainbow because all the different vegetables with the different colors have different phytonutrients, and our bodies need all of these nutrients. So the more you can get, that is, that should be one of the goals of the week. Did I get all my colors of the rainbow in my vegetables? So yeah, love
Yeah.
it. And you can keep zucchini as your staple. Squash.
Yes. Well, because they come in two colors, right? So
They do.
that's usually the way that I do that. So I love it. Now, Sophia, what are you up to now? Are you in the process of launching a program? Do you have anything in the works for anybody who may be really interested in speaking more to you if they're interested in all of these things, including labs and things like this that you offer? Can you talk a little bit about what it is that you have in the works?
Yeah, yeah. So I currently do one-on-one coaching programs with anyone who wants to work on their health. And so, anyone who is just, a lot of my clients are women. I also work with men, but most of them are women. I do a 3-month program, a 6-month program, and then some people choose to do a little bit longer. It depends on their goals. But that's something that I'm doing right now. I do group coaching as well. That's once a year, and I do it in September. So I get a group of women together, and we do basically a 12-week program where we're working on different aspects of health. And we talk about hormones, we talk about gut health, we talk about weight loss and the best way to do it, but that's really not the goal. That's the byproduct of doing everything, and then you will see that weight coming off. But yes, we also do look at body fat percentage. So that's something that I do throughout the year on a one-on-one coaching level. Yeah,
Love
but I
that.
am
And
working on some other things in the works. So stay tuned, and that will be something that I'll share soon.
yes, I love the stay tuned. It's ambiguous. That means you have to go follow her and you have to go watch her. So we'll talk about where to follow her in just a moment. But I want to circle back to what you have going on. You just said you have something launching in September. So, any details that you didn't already mention that you want to provide about that, or how do they sign up? Because I believe that they can sign up pretty well ahead of time, right? I think you don't have registration open yet, but it is going to be soon.
Right, right. Yes. So I have registration, pre-registration. Thank you, Vanessa, for this. So it will
Yes.
be opening up at in the middle of May. And so that's where people can, I'll tell about the program, the group coaching program, and anyone who's interested can sign up. And there'll be some bonuses if they do that pre-registration. And so, yes, that is going to be coming up right in the middle of May.
Yes, super soon. I'm not sure exactly the date we're going to air this yet, so I don't want to say exactly how many weeks that is, but it is soon. So definitely make sure that you connect with her. And Sophia, tell them where they can follow you.
Yeah, so if you would like, you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Sofia Ghani. It's Sophia with an F. And you can follow me there. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And yeah, you can do that and see what I do. You can DM me as well and have a conversation and see if I can help you out with wherever you are in your journey.
Yes, love that. Definitely reach out to her. She is one of the sweetest people that I've ever met. And she's so easy to talk to. So if you have questions, definitely reach out and ask her. Sophia, because we didn't really cover the empowerment piece, I want to circle back to that. So if you had to leave some advice, I'm going to ask you to leave some advice for our listeners to empower them to live their best life, to take control over their health, which is our wealth, as we know. What is one thing that you would want to leave them with?
Mm. one thing, that's hard to say just one thing, but one thing I would say is
Can be
like,
a couple things if you want.
yeah, I would say, take care of your health because nobody's going to take care of it for you. And love yourself because you are with yourself all the time and no one is with you all the time. And so you have to. It's a must to take care. And we only have one body. And so love yourself, accept who you are, where you are in your journey. Your body has brought you to where you are at this moment. So love and honor yourself and, make yourself better. And we should strive for that. We should strive to make ourselves better. And so if there are, resources that you can and people and what do you need to do to support you need to get to where you need to go, reach out and do that. And you'll find that once you start doing that, you're going to empower yourself and you're going to start feeling better and you're going to start giving more to others. But you got to fill your cup first, right? So yeah.
Ugh, so good. Thank you for that. Yeah, so important. Must fill your cup first. Take note,
Yeah.
ladies, because that is something we struggle with. But
Yes.
yeah, so, so important. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa, for
Yes.
having me.
Yes. Thank you for being here. I'm so blessed and honored to have been able to share this space with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Rebel Rise podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and invite your friends to join us next week. This is your time. Now get out there and rise.